Welcome to another East Trade Winds presentation with Steffan Surdek.
I'm going to talk about a topic here that I like to talk about called conversational debt and conversations in organizations. And last time I did this was in April at an entrepreneur event in Montreal. I was speaking for them and the organizer was struggling that day with getting the projector working. So I went to see him and I said, if you can't get it to work, don't worry about it. I can wing the whole thing. No problem. And lo and behold, what do you think happened? He just couldn't get the projector to work. And when he introduced me, he said, well, Steph said he could wing this. Let's see. So I went off for 30 minutes. One of the big things I like to talk about inside with my clients is this notion of the missing conversations. I find that often inside organizations, we don't talk. There's a lot of things we don't talk about. They're either taboo topics that we've spoken about so often, they've never led to anything. So we just stop having those conversations. Sometimes we don't know the conversation is even possible. And this missing conversation that I like to talk about, I like to call conversational debt. So conversational debt is all the conversations that you really should be having in your lives, whether it be your professional life, your personal life, and that you're just not having right now. So let me give you a very basic example, right? Who here has a spouse, a significant other? Raise your hand. Who has at least one conversation with your spouse that you need to have, that you need to talk about, something you don't like, something they do that bothers you, something important that you need to bring up, and that you just never bring up? Any of you here, or am I the only one? Right? We all know this. We all know this. And you can have this with your kids. You can have this with anyone in your life, with friends, etc. And I like this notion of conversational debt because when you think about it, when you don't talk about it, there's an impact. There's an impact to that debt, right? And the next time that you're kind of close to the topic, you realize, oh, I still can't talk about this. Your frustration goes up. There's something that happens where you feel as if, okay, it's getting worse. Inside companies, how this looks is imagine the person that always arrives late to the meeting. Have you had one of those in your lives at one point? That person that they arrive late, 5 minutes late every single time. And when you see them come in, everyone just groans, right? You can see it. Even if you don't hear it, you can see it. Everyone goes, darn, there's Sharon, right? And what happens eventually, I'm picking on Sharon, I'll pick on any of you at any given point here. But, essentially what happens is that the more that Sharon arrives late and no one brings it up, the more it becomes okay maybe for someone else to start doing it, right? And then all of a sudden, Bernie, who's supposed to run this call, just doesn't show up on time. And he's 5 minutes late for is, East Trade Winds call. And everyone's like, but Bernie, you run this thing, right? And then it goes on and on. People, there's no accountability. So people feel, okay to do the same thing, and it promotes bad behaviors. And inside leadership teams, what happens is these accumulate over time, and you have a lot of them over time, these conversations that you haven't had, that you don't know that you could have. Now, the question is, why aren't we having these conversations? Any ideas? Any ideas as to why we have this conversational debt going on? I don't know how to have this conversation. It's just a debt of conversations. It's this bunch of conversations that have accumulated over time, and that because you haven't had them, bad things are happening around you, on your team, or bad things are happening with your spouse. Versus, I don't know if you've ever experienced this. I've seen this with my spouse over time where, there's conversations that I didn't know were possible, and we're having an argument, and all of a sudden she takes a chance and she brings up a topic. And I'm like, oh, wait, this could be a conversation. Okay, cool. Let's talk about this, right? But I didn't have the courage to bring it up myself. So sometimes, we don't want rejection. We have a fear of how the other person is going to react. And it's all stories that we tell ourselves to give ourselves permission not to do this. That's what it is. We're looking for good excuses, right? So I have clients sometimes that will tell me, they have a problem with an employee. And as they tell me the issue, I go, well, have you spoken to them about it? Oh, I haven't found the right time yet. When is the right time? Go and do it and figure it out, right? And it's how you show up inside that conversation that allows things to happen or not happen. So what I do inside companies is I help them lead change. And when you're trying to create change, there's a lot of conversations that need to happen around change. There's conversations that you may have with your leadership team. There's conversations you may need to have with the leaders inside the organization, people that don't necessarily have a leadership title, but they're the influencers on the floor. They're the people that can make a difference, that can influence others. And we avoid, bringing these people in, getting them involved in the early stages of the conversation around what we want to do, what we want to bring in. And then we wonder, why aren't people buying in? Why aren't people doing what we need, contributing to what we need to do? Doesn't anyone know what the goal is here? The classic example inside companies, I'm sure some of you have seen this one too. How many times in your career, have you seen the big kickoff event? The big kickoff where we introduce the transformation and we go, this is what we're going to do this year. It's going to be great. It's going to be amazing. It's a big rah event. People walk out. What happens? Everyone forgets. And a year after, we wonder, why are we still exactly where we're at? Ever seen that? Or is that just me? So the reason for that is we're not having ongoing conversations. We just have a first conversation. We just have this thing where we go, okay, I'm going to put it out there, what we want to do. And then I'm going to cross my fingers and I'm going to hope it works out. With leaders, what I often do is I often have some sort of transformation meeting, right? And the transformation meeting is more or less a transformation meeting. It's an excuse to talk. It's an excuse to say, this is what we wanted to do, in the past month. Did we do it? No. Okay. Why didn't we do it? What needs to happen so that we can do it this month? Those kinds of conversations are what keep change alive. The other piece, you may have seen this one too. This is another classic. The leader that wants to create change inside their team. Let's say, for example, you have a daily meeting with your team, half an hour, 15 minutes, let's say. And your team isn't taking ownership of it. And, when you're not there as the boss, nothing happens. The meeting just doesn't happen, right? Because Percy isn't there. And if Percy isn't there, we're doing this for Percy. We're not doing this for us, type of thing, right? I see a lot of leaders get frustrated because they'd like to miss that meeting every once in a while. They have a more important meeting to attend sometimes at that specific time, and they'd like things to just keep going. So one of the conversations there is just being clear on your intention as a leader. In the next 3 months, what I'd like to see is I'd like you to learn how to take ownership of this meeting, and I'd like this meeting to be productive for everyone, not for me. I can be here or not, right? But I need you all to take ownership of it. And once you start putting those things out there, people kind of know what to do. And then, in a few weeks, look, I can see everyone's been running the meeting, which is really, really cool. But, what parts are still broken? What parts would you like to see different? What should we do to give more value to this meeting? The more you have those conversations, the more people are able to embrace change. And the more people are able to say, look, this is for real. You mean Frances wasn't kidding? She really wanted this to happen, right? So when you start being clear on your intention, instead of trying to use the force, that's the joke I use with my clients. It's like you expect people to mind read you and to know what you want from them. Can't expect that. Be clear on what you expect. Be clear on what you want as a leader if you actually want it to happen. And then talk about it regularly, right? When it comes to change, the other thing that's important is to realize that sometimes some things are just a conversation. It's not about things being perfect. It's not about us solving a problem always the first time around. Sometimes it's just about practicing. Can we even have this conversation? So sometimes, let's say I want to tackle a taboo topic with a client. Well, sometimes I'll tell them, look, I've been watching you for the past month. I realize every time it comes to this topic, everyone skirts around it. No one takes accountability, or you all start going around in circles. Can you all see that too? Oh, yeah. We can see it too. Okay. Why is that? And then we try to talk about that a little bit. And sometimes we hear like Trevor say, well, I'm just uncomfortable giving this feedback to Thea because I don't know how she's going to react. Okay, well, Thea, how are you going to react if Trevor says this? Well, it'll be fun. Okay, now you see you have permission, Trevor, right? So we kind of engage in a way where I try to normalize things. I try to bring things that they know about, but I try to make it like safer for them to talk about these things. And sometimes we'll have a conversation and it'll fail. It'll be like an absolute mess. And what we do sometimes when we reach those is we laugh together and go, okay, so that's why we're not having this conversation. I see it now. Let's say we wanted to be more successful next time. What would we do? And we stop. We come back a week later and we agree that we're trying again. Right. And because we're trying again, there's not this frustration of, this never works, because we've kind of put it out there that we're just trying right now. When it comes to conversations too, you can always do a reset. One of the tricks I've learned, I shared this with Bernie on his podcast. I've been doing this with my spouse for the past couple of years. I've been with my spouse for 35 years. So when you have 35 years of history, there's a lot of conversational debt, right? Because we've appeased, we've put things aside, right? But what we've learned is when we're having a conversation and we're getting into a place where it's getting more heated, sometimes what I'll do is I'll say, okay, this is not a productive conversation right now. This is not going the way that we want. If we keep going, you're going to say this, I'm going to say that, you're going to say this, I'm going to say that, back and forth. This is not going to be productive. Do you want to try again? Let's start this whole conversation a different way. And the first times I did it, my spouse would look at me and she was like, you're crazy. But one time she said, okay, let's try it out. And when we tried it out, we just said, okay, so here's where we're at. I've been saying ABC. You've been saying XYZ. Are we clear on what we've said? Yeah. Okay. Now let's start from here at this point. This is where we're starting. And usually that second go is much more productive than the first one, because it's kind of, you just let go of all the stuff that's preventing you from talking in the first place. Does this all make sense, or am I talking in the clouds? There's leaders that I work with that when we talk about the art of having a conversation or having a difficult conversation, what people will tell me is, I can't have that. That's going to be a difficult conversation. That's going to blow up. Let me tell you the biggest secret that you'll ever hear about difficult conversations. It will be as difficult as you choose to make it. If you choose that it'll just be a conversation, we'll just have a talk, and I will be responsible for making sure that the conversation stays in a healthy place, you can do wonders with any conversation, any of them, right? And they become a lot easier. So I was telling you about conversations with the leaders around you, conversations with your leadership team. There's another set of conversations that's very important too. And it's the conversations you have with yourself. Ever pay attention to those? Sometimes there's conversations that we have with ourselves where we're not productive. We're not helping each other. Well, we're not helping ourselves in the conversation that we're in the inner dialogue that we're having. And then what happens, one of the distinctions I like to teach people is this notion of powerless versus powerful. And you can tell yourself stories that are going to make you powerless, that are going to take all your personal power away, that are going to give you all the reasons not to do something that you want, that you're looking for. Or you can have conversations that give you power. Or you can tell yourself stories that will give you courage. Or you can tell yourself stories that will, and what if I wanted to do this? What would I do? And that's a very important notion too. As a leader, as entrepreneurs, this isn't an easy time, at least not in my part. Business has been harder in the past year and a half. And, I've had to notice a lot the conversations I'm having with myself. Why aren't people answering when I send an email? I had a very good relationship with this person. Well, maybe that other person, it's not that they hate you. Maybe they're just overwhelmed. Maybe they're just stuck in their world. They have their circumstances, and maybe they didn't even see your message, right? So what stories do you tell yourself? What conversations do you have with you that give you power to keep going, that give you courage to keep going, that give you a reason to try something? I find that is so important, that dialogue that you can have with yourself as a leader.
We thank you for watching. We meet every Tuesday between 8 and 9 a.m. Eastern. There is no cost and an option to become a speaker too. Find East Trade Wins on LinkedIn.